Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in today, and we have a review on this 1/18th scale GT Spirit Koenigsegg Agera RS. This is one of 1,500 models produced, and I picked it up for about $100 from Models 118. I'm not paid or sponsored by them in any format, but if you guys wanted to get cheap GT Spirit model cars, that's usually where I like to do it. But moving on with the front of the car, we have some pretty good details on these daytime running lights and the headlights themselves. As you can see, they added a nice little strip to emulate that light, so that looks pretty good. Up here we have the Koenigsegg crest, which is just in silver, but it does look fairly good. And then another Koenigsegg logo right here up on the hood, and there's a little hood nostril, and there's some grills back here to kind of emulate some air cooling stuff going on, so those look pretty good. Down here there is some grills on the bottom, and they are kind of hard to show on camera, but those are real mesh grills down here at the bottom. But honestly, it's kind of hard to tell right now. So over here we have some nice canards over here that look pretty good, and they're finished with this red stripe around the edge, so I think that looks pretty good, and they follow through that vent right there. Over here there's also a turn signal indicator, or just a reflector, and pretty good details on that, I suppose. Now moving on with the wheels, they are painted in this gloss black finish, which they look pretty good, I must say. Sorry, let's get that camera to focus. And there's red brake calipers and some drilled rotors back there. Nothing too crazy on the details, and also the tires don't have any writing on them, but that's pretty standard for these models. So we'll keep moving on. I do like this detail right here over the front fender. There's kind of an air vent that goes through here, and as you can see, it's just some of the detail. It looks pretty good. There is a noticeable lack of carbon fiber on this particular model because there actually isn't any carbon fiber on it at all, which is kind of surprising because you would expect all the black paint that's on this model would normally probably be in carbon fiber, but on this particular model, it's all just gloss black. So that is something to note about this model, but it's not a deal breaker for me. So over here, there is a pretty good vent down here, which does have some detail behind it, and I know it's really hard to see. Let me see if I can pick this up and show you guys a little bit better. So, not really, but there is a vent back there, and it is, sorry about that, there is real mesh behind it. And it does look pretty good when you can get some light through there. So sorry about that, but we'll keep moving on. So over here, there is another Agera RS badge on the side, and below here, there's some pretty nice side skirts. I will say the mirrors themselves, they are, they do a pretty decent job, but GT Spirit has kind of incorporated kind of like a rubberized feel on some of these models. So they do move a little bit, as you can see. There's a bit of play to them, which probably could help preventing more damage, because a lot of the times these are really easy to break off. So, that is nice that they added that detail. But I am kind of worried that over time, you might be able to tell that these will get bent out of place, especially if they're placed in sunlight. As you can see, this one has kind of started to have that happen already. It's got some little deformation to it, which, isn't great. And that is something to be careful of. Just watch out, don't place this model in light, or else these will bend. So moving on, the rear wheels are same as the front, nothing really too crazy going on back there. The taillights themselves are kind of interesting because they're smoked out, as you can see. They kind of have this black kind of gloss around it, but there's some hints of red in there through the black. But that is kind of a not great of a detail, but there you go, you can see that. Back here as well, they did use another grill, but you can't see anything behind there. They just put plastic behind these grills, so it's nice to have those details, but we would like to see some stuff through the engine bay. Well, moving down a little bit more, we have a chrome center exit exhaust, which does look fairly good, I must say. It goes down pretty deep, as you can see. And then the diffuser itself is just painted in gloss black like the rest of this model, no carbon fiber to note, which is kind of a bummer. Forgot to mention there's some more air vents back here, but you can't see through them, it's just plastic, which is unfortunate. Moving along, the rear of this car also is painted in gloss black everywhere. Pretty nice wing though, I must say. And this does kind of like, it's got that rubbery feel to it. It is plastic, but it does have a little bit of flex to it, as you can see there. Back here, there is some more grills, and you can see a bit of the engine detail, but they did put a kind of like a tint over the engine bay, so you can't really see too far into that, which is unfortunate, because, you know, for the money you're paying on this model, we would like to see just a little bit more engine detail. Up here we have another brake light, and then there's the roof snorkel on the top of this car. As you can see, it goes up there, and there is a nice window up there. So the interior of this car is red, as you can see, but it's not like the same kind of red that's on the exterior of the model, I must say. So when you get some light into it, it's really kind of like a glossy look, and this shows it off perfectly. So it's not really like great, I must say. It looks kind of cheap. As you can see, just the reflections from the light makes it look kind of like a lip gloss color. So I kind of wish they used like a matte finish just so it would look more realistic. This kind of just looks like some cheap plastic that's painted right in there. And, you know, that details doesn't go unnoticed, honestly. So that is kind of a knock in points. And obviously, GT Spirit doesn't do opening models, so this is no exception. So it will be kind of hard for me to show you the interior of this car, but I'll do my best. So let's see what we have through this window. As you can see, you know, nothing really too crazy going on in there, and it's really hard to show the details, and it's honestly even harder to see it without using the camera. So I wouldn't really pay too much attention to this interior, but that is kind of a knock in some points on this particular model. And, you know, overall impressions, I think this is a really good looking model, but it doesn't really compare to some of the other ones that I've seen come out from GT Spirit. You know, there's quite a bit of lack of carbon fiber in this particular model. I do like that they added the mesh grills in the few spots that they have it. I think that is a nice touch. But, you know, for a model of this price point, we really should have as much carbon fiber that's on an auto art model. I know it's not an opening model, but, you know, for $100 and probably $140 is what other people are probably going to end up paying for this car. You know, that's a lot of money to be spending on something that, you know, isn't as detailed as it probably should be. On top of that, you know, like I said earlier, the finish on the interior is not great. I mean, it looks super cheap in there, and it is kind of holding this model back from looking like an absolutely superb model, I must say. So that is another knock-in point. And then lastly, just the I do like that they are using a bit more flimsy material on their mirrors, just because it kind of prevents damage, a little bit more play on them, you know, just in case you bump it, it's not going to fall off. But, you know, if it is exposed to, you know, any type of heat, these will start to bend over time like mine has. And mind you, I've only had this model for, I'd probably say 2 months now. And, you know, my collection is kind of facing the sun, but... And I understand that that's probably not the best solution for these models, but, you know, that's the way I display them. And so, you know, we would love to see something that's a bit more durable than that. But if you're not planning on putting your cars near the sun or any heat, you know, it probably should be fine. But the way that these don't really, you know, sit in the same position together, I mean, you know, it's not great. It's not really a good look. But, you know, those really 3 items, the lack of carbon fiber, the interior, and the mirrors themselves. You know, I really like this car, and I really do think it is worth it. If you can pick it up for about $100, I think that's a pretty good deal. But overall, I'd probably give this model a solid 6.5 or 7 maybe out of 10. Those few items that I mentioned earlier really just kind of hinders this car for me. But, you know, it is a really good looking model, and I'm happy to have it in my collection for sure. But pretty much that's all I have to say about it. If you guys have any more questions or want to know some more about it, just please feel free to let them go in the comments. And also, if you don't mind liking and subscribing on my videos, it really helps out the channel and keeps me motivated to keep getting more model cars to show you guys. But, you know, besides that, thank you guys for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.